For a few hours now, it is that news. Shams Charania reporting the Clippers and James Harden are working to see if a deal could be made prior to Thursday's NBA trade deadline that would send him out of L.A. Shams also reported the Cleveland Cavaliers are one of the teams showing serious interest in the 36-year-old Harden. Now, and Sixers out in L.A., Tyrese Maxey and company. There's no James Harden in this game. He sat out due to personal reasons. More on that in a moment. But there is Tyrese. A triple. He made 4 of them in the first quarter. Sixers by 13. Then Maxey another. I mean, he's pulling up Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, Orange County, the OC, right? The numbered streets, Ryan Atwood. Later, Quentin Grimes. Just got up on John Collins. He baptized JC. What? 14 points for Grimes. Sixers would lead at the break by 19 points. It's their third wire-to-wire win of the season. Dominic Barlow would like a word. A career game for him. First Sixers player with 25 points, 15 rebounds, 0 turnovers in a road game since turnovers were tracked in 1977. It's 26 points and 16 rebounds. And then Maxey, 29 points, 7 threes. The Sixers, 128-113. Again, no James Harden, out for what the team called personal reasons. We have a personal friend. Shams Charania here with us on SportsCenter AM. His busy week continues here in Bristol ahead of the NBA trade deadline. And now James Harden is a name that has emerged as a focal point around the league. What's the latest there with the Clippers and the beard?
Randy, Gary, this was as stunning as so far as it gets this trade deadline, because the Clippers had just won 16 of 20 games going into last night's contest. And now the Clippers and James Harden on the eve of the trade deadline are working together to find a deal for him out of LA. He's been great for them all year, healthy, durable, productive, and the Cleveland Cavaliers have emerged as a serious suitor with interest in him. And this was all made possible because Harden has a mutual option for next season, a $13 million partial guarantee, and that gave both sides the ability to sit down over the last few days and see where is his long-term future in LA. He wants to be somewhere where he's going to be there for multiple years after this year. That was not promised for him in LA. And he wants to compete for a championship, which is something we've heard a lot with James Harden when he went to Brooklyn, when he went to Philly, and then he went again to the Clippers. So he's looking at the Cavaliers as potentially a better opportunity to make it to the finals out east. One biggest key here with James Harden, he has a no-trade clause and all this. So he's going to have a lot of dictation over his future at the deadline.
Okay. I'm glad that you brought and broke down the reason behind that, because you mentioned it. He's second on the team in scoring, 25 points per game, and the Clippers have been one of the hottest teams in the league since about mid-December. That is super interesting. Let's stay in the Eastern Conference, if that's where James Harden, in fact, is going. It's still Giannis. It's still the Bucks, continuing to be the center of this deadline. Where are talks headed to this point, about 48 hours out from the deadline?
So the Bucks have been engaging with teams. They've been making counter proposals. And right now they're at the stage where they're sifting through the aggressive offers that they've gotten. And teams interested in Giannis that are making these aggressive pushes, like Miami, New York, Golden State, and Minnesota, they're waiting for Milwaukee to really get to the point where they're on the brink, where you're really making these counter offers like, we're a piece or 2 or 3 away, and let's potentially get this deal done. And so these conversations, I think, will continue as we get closer to Wednesday and Thursday. The Bucks are at a tipping point, though. There's a conflict. They're in a position now where they're playing more and more for a draft pick the second half of the season. Giannis wants to play for a championship. He wants to play in the second half of the year. So there's a conflict of agendas with where both of these sides are going. They're now 11 games under 500. They've plummeted in the Eastern Conference. And so he wants and is ready for his exit, whether it's now or in the offseason.
Very quickly, what do the Bucks expect to get back for Giannis?
Their price point throughout all this has been a young blue chip player and a surplus of draft picks. The reality is the Warriors have a pick-heavy offer. The Timberwolves have a player-centric offer. And then Miami and New York is somewhere in between both of those. Some players, some picks.
Got it.
So Milwaukee has to choose here. Do they want to go down one of these paths, or do you kick this to the offseason? When, as I said, and I've been saying, Giannis will have 1 year left on his deal, and that'll give him a little bit more power, a little bit more say-so in terms of saying, listen, I only want to go here or here, and that could dilute the value.
Offers. There have been aggressive suitors wanting the services of Giannis Antetokounmpo, who has, and do the air quotes with me, a calf strain that could keep him out anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, and that could affect his trading value or where he's going to go. But, HD, I'll start with you, man. What if he's not traded by Thursday's deadline with all this going around? Then what becomes the biggest question for him in the Milwaukee Bucks?
Well, I think if that's the case, then Giannis needs to sit out the rest of the season. There's no reason to chance it, in my opinion, if you're Giannis Antetokounmpo and going out there, because, Freddie, we have the proof, right? The proof has been in the pudding. When guys are dealing with calf injuries and they come back too early or they try to force themselves to play on it, which I will hope will never be the case for Giannis, especially the caliber of player that he is, but it normally leads to tearing your Achilles. Now, I'm not saying I want that to happen to Giannis, but we also have a lot of examples to be able to see that has transpired after having calf injuries. This is the fourth one in the last 19 months. But I firmly believe if he's not traded, if you're the Milwaukee Bucks or Giannis, you have to sit him down for the rest of the season, because if you didn't trade him at the trade deadline, there's a great chance that you're probably going to plan on trading him this offseason, and you don't want to risk him getting injured further than what he is right now.
So they're 18 and 29 right now. They're 12th in the East. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. So if he's not traded at the deadline and they're not trying to start thinking about life beyond Giannis, you're in this weird purgatory state where you just kind of have to stand pat, because Harry's right. Like, if you play him, and like we know they're 1-9 in playoff games that he's played in. Health obviously is a big concern with him when it comes to late April into May into June, at least in recent years. I don't even think you're thinking about getting there, but either way, why would you play a player who very well could become more injured? And I know we kind of joke about the whole calf thing and the air quotes and, like, you know, he's self-diagnosed and all of that. But if the worst case scenario happens and he gets himself injured, you not only crush his trade value and the potential to move him for a haul that would allow you to build the next generation of your Milwaukee Bucks franchise, but that hurts him. For a team that's been trying to do right by him all of these years, when they try to bring pieces in to build around Giannis, even though it hasn't worked, you can't fault them for trying. I think that there would be a major stain on the organization for playing him, when the best thing to do would be to preserve him so he can go somewhere else in the offseason, so you can continue to have these talks, formally, informally, whatever fashion you have to do it in, but you can get the right trade package. Like, if you're Milwaukee, you have to not only do right by the superstar who brought you a championship and has been nothing but an upstanding member of your team and of the community. You have to think about your fan base. You have to think about, how do we make sure that Bucks fans have something to celebrate beyond Giannis's time here in Milwaukee? And that's by getting the best trade package possible for a player who will clearly net a big-time deal that will then allow you to start building what's next for your franchise.
I just wonder how much leverage has been reduced regarding the Milwaukee Bucks because of everything you guys have said, where they had a chance to do this earlier, meaning last year in the summer or even before the trading deadline. But also that injury comes to Giannis Antetokounmpo. If anyone believes that he's even the slightest bit injured with a calf strain, and HD mentioned this on our radio show yesterday, his fourth kind of calf injury in the last year and a half, 2 years. And he's 31 years of age. As great as he is, that potential breakdown factor, especially the way he plays, is something you have to consider. And I wonder, gentlemen and lady, how much of that has reduced any kind of leverage in terms of what kind of haul that you are expecting to get back for a player that we know is still great, but that potential risk factor that he could break down sooner than later has to be right at the top of the mind of any kind of GM making this kind of deal, giving up your future for the now, and that now may break down, and then you have no future trying to win a championship.
So, Freddie, here's another thing that I think a lot of people need to realize about the Milwaukee Bucks and their 2026 first-round draft pick. They're probably rooting for the New Orleans Pelicans right now to have the worst record than they actually have, because the Hawks have two opportunities, right? If the Milwaukee Bucks have the worst record between the two, then the Atlanta Hawks will get their pick. But if the New Orleans Pelicans have the worst record between the two, the Hawks will get their pick. So, you know, Giannis not playing, it definitely has an effect on their 2026 draft pick. And they're just hoping right now the New Orleans Pelicans can continue to lose so the Hawks get their pick and not theirs.